Normally, you go to the store and you pick out the things you want to buy.
But today we're going to tell you about a place where everyone tries to get you to buy everything they have. Hello, welcome to Around the World with Joshua and Alyssa. This is week 12. Thank you for joining us again. Today we are excited about the things we get to share with you. And so we are going to get right into returning to Ghana, where we were last week. We'll probably spend the next few weeks there because we were there for a couple weeks and I spent a couple weeks there before that. And so we are going to now look at the market. And what the markets look like in Ghana. We took you to the markets in Ecuador. And so Ghana markets are pretty similar, but there are a few unique things. So let's take a look at those today. And if you noticed, once we get back to the view of us, I am wearing one of the shirts that I got from Ghana a couple years ago. You see here, it's kind of part of the market, this actual place. It was outside the market, but really it's part of it. This lady who made some outfits for us, this is where she puts all those together with her employees. And so this is just a few of the outfits hanging up on the wall that she has for sale. Now here, when we actually walked into the market itself, you walk by all these different little stores that are set up. And just like the one in Ecuador, I can't remember if we looked at one in the Philippines too. I don't think we did.
I don't think so.
But there's all sorts of things here. There are like plastic toys and shoes and brushes and
jewelry, looks
like. Yeah, hanging from the rafters, all sorts of different things there. And here's another one. Here are a lot of shoes, flip-flops, and right next to that is food.
I think rice.
Yeah, I think so too. And so then here's some more food, a whole bunch of dried things, it looks like. Look how they stacked them all up. That's pretty impressive. Just stacked all these bags on top of each other.
And they're not falling over yet.
Nope. Which is pretty impressive because with all the people that go through there, it can be quite busy, and I would imagine it's not too hard to knock one of those piles over if you're not careful as you're walking by. Let's see. Here's a housewares store. All sorts of different plastic containers that you might want in your kitchen. You have cups and
bowls and looks like
storage containers,
buckets, and all sorts of things.
Some wooden spoons and pots for cooking. Everything you might need for your kitchen, you can find at this one right here. Now, what is this guy selling? That looks like, that's electronics. That's like a cell phone dealer. He has all these cell phone cases, and he has all these charging cables. I bet he repairs cell phones too, if you were to ask him. So all sorts of things there for your phone needs. And then someone on the ground is selling apples. Some other jewelry, it looks like. Now here's a place. This was a different market. This was like an art market. Really, just a lot of souvenirs is what they sell here. This was in the big city, the capital city of Ghana. We went there right before we flew out at the end of our time there. And so this one looks like a whole bunch of backpacks.
So many fun colors, though.
Oh, yeah.
The clothes, everything is just so colorful.
Yep. So while we were there, I was looking for some flip-flops, and Alyssa was looking for some material to wear as a skirt. And so here she is trying on some stuff that I do not think we bought because I don't recognize it anymore.
Nope.
But they would hold up all sorts of cloths for her to try, and then if they didn't have what she wanted, they would go to some other booth with someone else who was their friend or family and see if they had something. And if they didn't, they'd go somewhere else. And I don't know if these guys are competitors or if they just all work together, or if there's a few of them and they're spread out to try to get you one way or another.
But they all knew I wanted a skirt. Because
Yes.
after a while, basically anybody I walked by was like, oh, look at this skirt. Oh, you're looking for a skirt.
Word spreads quickly in there. So somehow if it's almost like they have spies who are watching you. And so then they quick go tell everyone else. So you walk down a new aisle and all of a sudden they know exactly what you want and they're holding it up for you to see.
Mm-hmm.
It's really funny because when we went, they tell you that they're your friend. The first thing they want to know is where you're from. And if you tell them from America, oh, I love America. And this one guy said, I've been to Atlanta. I said, oh, I was there. And I said, like, what part? And he said, in Georgia. Like, okay, yes. I'm not sure if you've really been there, if you just know your places. And a couple years ago, a guy tried to sell me something. He said, you can't buy it for this cheap on Amazon. And I said, well, I wouldn't buy it on Amazon. He said, so they're trying all sorts of tactics to get you to buy something. They say that they'll give you the best deal that because you're their friend, or you're their first customer, so you have to buy from them because otherwise they'll have bad luck rest of the day. And all sorts of things. And I don't know how many first customers they have each day, but they really try to get you to buy stuff and don't want you to... They make really sad faces if you try to leave without buying stuff.
They're good salespeople, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm. But at the same time, Alyssa and I have been to other countries where we've been to markets like this, and people have tried to sell us things. And we've been taught by missionaries, and I've been taught by my dad, not to take the price that they give you. You always ask for something much lower. And then they say, no, I'll lose money if I do that. And so they give you something a little lower, but still higher than you want. And so you just keep going back and forth, offering prices. And if you don't like the price they give you, you just leave. And then they'll come back and say, okay, I'll do this price. No, I'll go find someone else. And they either look really sad and let you go, or they give you the price you want. And they say, I'm not making any money, but you're my friend, so I want you to have it. People told me that several times. So I'm sure they probably still made money, because if they didn't, they wouldn't sell it to me. But so I think we got out of there with some good things for prices we liked. Much cheaper than you could get those things here in America. Someone else, a friend of ours, was sending us a picture of some of the same material at the state fair, I think. And the prices there were outrageous. But that's America. And so these things are from Africa and you buy it because it's cool. And we just got them for a lot cheaper right there in Africa. So as you walk along, everything is all colorful like this. All sorts of different materials and skirts and flip-flops and backpacks.
Dresses, blankets,
purses, anything you could really want. One part of the market that we didn't really spend much time in was like the wood carving stores. And this guy really wanted me to come look at his stuff. He said, you don't have to buy anything, just come look. Which means come look and hopefully you'll want to buy something. But I said, I can't. I found what I wanted. I don't want any of this and I have to go. But I said, I'll take a picture if you'd like me to and I'll show it to people back in the States. And he said, yeah, take a picture. So he held up his thing and I took this picture. And he still tried to get me to come look at things. And I told him no. And so that made him kind of sad. But
here's his picture. So.
Yep. I told him I would show it to you guys, and I did. So that is the market in Ghana. A lot of things. We didn't really show you much of the fruits and vegetables and food, but it's a lot like Ecuador there for the meats and the fishes and that kind of thing. But this was pretty unique, the art stuff, especially African art. And
so colorful.
Yeah, so many beautiful colors that we love. And we had to bring some of it back with us, like this shirt that I got a couple years ago. And I'll keep wearing them the next few weeks as we do this series. So now,
missionary story.
Part 2 of the new missionary story.
Yep.
And I'm hungry, so I'm going to go get something to eat.
Okay.
While you tell the story.
Go get a snack. Well, we started our new story about Mary Slessor, a girl who lived in Scotland. And we started off the beginning of the story, kind of like the sad part of her life. And you'll have to go back and rewatch it so you can hear all that part of the story. But we stopped last time in a really intense part. She had been starting to teach some kids in like a really poor area of town. She had been teaching them some Bible stories and teaching them how to read. And then one night, really late, a gang of boys came and surrounded her, and one of the boys was swinging a lead pipe around his head, and it was getting closer and closer to her face. And when we stopped last time, it just barely cut into the edge of her face, and she was still standing there, not even moving. Well, he swung it one more time, and then he stopped. He dropped it to his side and said, "Ha! You're brave enough. We'll let you walk anywhere in these streets. We won't let anybody else hurt you." Mary was so surprised. Now they were going to kind of take care of her. So they said, "You can go anywhere you want." She said, "How about you come to my Bible club and learn about the Bible?" She was really bold with the way that she talked to these boys who were kind of mean. But guess what? They showed up at her Bible study, and those boys got to learn how to read, and she got to teach them stories from the Bible. Her boldness really helped her share the gospel with other people, even these boys who weren't being very nice to her at all. Well, Mary continued to teach until she was 26 years old, and then she realized her other siblings could help support her family, and she really wanted to be a missionary. So she asked her mom, and what do you think her mom said? Her mom said yes, she wanted Mary to be a missionary. And where do you think Mary wanted to go? Calabar in Africa, that same place she had heard about from the missionary so many years ago. So she began to prepare. She began to pack things together and to get money and to get ready to live in Africa. Now, if we were going to go to Africa, like when Josh and I went to Africa, we took an airplane. For Mary, she couldn't take an airplane. She had to travel by boat. So she left Scotland and took a boat down the coast. And it was amazing as she took the boat ride. Even the sky changed from the cloudy, dull sky of Scotland. It got brighter, more tropical. The air got warmer. She began to see so many different kinds of animals. As they got closer and closer to Africa, she saw so many different kinds of birds and parrots, hippopotamus, alligators, all sorts of animals. And she began to get more and more excited about going to Africa, where she had dreamed about telling people about God. So she was going to Calabar, and as she got closer and closer, she even got to see some people in a canoe, and it made her so excited. There were the people. She could not wait to start sharing the good news about Jesus with them. So she went to a town called Duketown. There are already some missionaries there, so she began to work with them, and they had a small school. And Mary began to teach in the school, and as she learned the language more and more, she would travel out into the outer villages, out through the jungle with the other missionaries. And little by little, she would get to share a little of her testimony. She would get to talk about how Jesus could heal people, not just of what they were sick, but even more that he could heal them and give them a forever home in heaven someday. So Mary began to do exactly what she had dreamed about doing for so long, and she worked really hard to learn language. She also began to change some of the things about what she did. She began to wear loose-fitting clothes. She cut her long hair till it was really short so she didn't have to bother with it anymore. And that way she could fit in a little bit better with the people. She loved serving in Africa. She loved getting to meet the people and going through the jungle, getting to see people that hadn't heard much about the Bible or about the gospel. She taught both the children in the school and women from the village, and she would spend time sharing about the Bible with them. She even stopped wearing shoes and just went barefoot so she could match everybody else in the area. Now, there were some things that were still really sad for her. There were things that the people had just done for so long, they were normal. Like, they thought that having twin babies would bring bad curses on them. They thought it would bring evil spirits. So they would either kill the twin babies or they would just leave them out in the jungle. And Mary thought that was such a terrible thing. So she tried to help teach the people around her that God loves every life. Every baby is special to him, even twin babies. And she kept wanting to tell more and more people about God. Well, as she shared with the people about not hurting the babies, one day there was a baby on her doorstep, just left there. She couldn't figure out who it belonged to. She asked around and nobody would say whose baby it was. So she just began to take care of it and kind of adopted it into her family. Then one time she rescued a set of twins, a boy and a girl. The boy didn't live very long after that, but the little girl lived for a long time, and Mary named her Janie after her littlest sister back in Scotland. And God began to give her a family just out of these babies that nobody wanted, and they would just leave, or Mary would find them in places, and she began to care for them. That was a good thing for the people to see, too. Nothing bad was happening to Mary because she had these twin babies. No evil spirits, no curses, and she showed them love, God's love. She really wanted to help the people who were deeper in the village. She loved to be there in Duketown, but she really wanted to tell the people who hadn't heard about God before and who believed even more strange things, and she wanted them to know about God. So she began to travel deeper into the jungles and into the villages farther and farther away. The people always told her, though, that's dangerous, Mary. You shouldn't go there. You shouldn't help those people. Bad things might happen to you too. But she kept going. She had already done some dangerous things already. And she was pretty bold. She wasn't scared. She knew God was with her. She would help people if they were sick, and she would come and help if they were getting ready to fight too. So people began to nickname her Ma, and if there was an emergency or something was going to happen, they would tell her, "Run, Ma, run," so she could go on to the next village or help the next people. So many people around the area began to know who Mary was, and she was very famous with the chiefs and with the leaders because she would help come and talk to them and help them work out their problems instead of fighting, which is normally how they wanted to go about things. Well, as Mary began to travel, sometimes she would bring her children with her. Remember all those little kids she had? Well, they kept growing up. One time when they were out to visit a village, a tornado came up, and that was pretty normal for that area, but it still was really scary. So they all huddled inside a house, and they could hear the wind outside, and they could see things flying by in all the wind, and it ripped off the top of the roof, and it was very scary. But instead of just sitting there scared, they started to sing. So Mary and her children just sat there and they sang to the Lord as the wind blew, and it was crazy and so frightening. And it reminded them God could protect them even in the midst of a storm. But it was really scary for them. Well, even after that, Mary decided it was time for them to move, and they shouldn't stay where they were. They should move and go out into the jungle and find a new place to live and a new group of people to help. And back at the mission house, the people shook their head. "Mary, you should not go. You should not go there. It's not safe. You shouldn't go." What do you think Mary's going to do? Do you think she's going to go? You'll have to come back next week and find out. She goes to the next village and how else God could use her.
I think one of the best decisions she ever made was not to wear shoes.
I figured you would like that part.
I do. She was smart.
Mm-hmm.
That's what the nice people do. Okay, so thankfully we have a friend who agreed just a couple days ago to let us use their information and their pictures to tell you about what they are doing in another part of the world, because we kind of went the whole week without remembering to get somebody.
I got a crazy week.
So we are very thankful to our friends Eric and Ellen Locker, who just sent us the information about themselves and their ministry.
Yeah, so let's tell you about them.
So Eric and Ellen Locker are from Iowa originally. Well, actually, I'm not sure if Ellen originally is from Iowa, and I guess I don't know about Eric either, but they spent most of their growing up years in Iowa.
And we went to college with them. They were at my church with me when I was in college.
Yes. And so here they are, and their 2-year-old, I believe, daughter, and they are living in Alaska, which really is like another country almost, because in fact, if you want to get there, you have to drive through another country to get to this state. Mm-hmm. And it's huge. And I've never been to Alaska, unfortunately. So it's on my list of places to go. But they are up there doing camp ministry. And I'm really glad that they are doing that, because they both, actually, I worked at camp with both of them too, and they are very passionate about investing in the lives of young people and other people who spend a summer at camp. Now, this is a picture that Eric sent me 3 years ago.
Oh, so cool.
They get to see the northern lights where they live. I have never seen northern lights. I have not yet been far enough north at the right time to see these.
I saw them when I was little, but only in Wisconsin. They were not that bright.
Okay. Well, these are beautiful. I forgot how the northern lights form, but
it's magnetic waves.
Okay. So someday, if you've never seen them, like us, you need to see them. So Eric and Ellen live in Sterling, Alaska. Here's the picture of them again. They live on the road system, so things are very similar. That's because in Alaska, there are also many people who do not live on the road systems. And so to get to those places, it's a little more difficult than just driving. Some places you can only fly to get there. Some places you can only take a boat to get there. Or so I've heard. I haven't been there myself. So they live on the road system, so life is very similar to life here in the lower 48 states. They are only 10 minutes from town, and they have a grocery store and a few fast food restaurants. They are 2.5 hours south of Anchorage, which is... Was that like the largest city in Alaska?
I think it might be. Not the capital, but...
Yeah, Juneau is the capital, but Anchorage is a large city up there on the only highway coming to the Kenai Peninsula. The culture of the peninsula is very laid back, and the economy is dependent on tourism, fishing, and oil. And that works very well for Eric and Ellen, because I know that they love fishing, especially Eric. He does a lot of that. In what ways are you reaching out to build relationships with people in your area? We asked them that. And through their camp ministry, they have opportunities to reach out to many churches each spring as they promote their camp ministry. So Eric goes around and visits churches and tells them about the camp so that they can get campers to come, maybe some people to work there also, or volunteer to help with upkeep. Eric substitute teaches for the Kenai Peninsula School District, which includes around 40 schools. So during the school year, he's very active in meeting and interacting with other kids in the area. This leads to opportunities both with teachers and students to talk about the camp. As I mentioned earlier, he also enjoys fishing and has recently met many people on the river through social media. Fishing has provided a great opportunity to develop relationships with those who enjoy the same types of activities as he does. And as we go along here, we have a few pictures of people that they have worked with and some of their camp activities. We asked them what's something that's unique about where they live. And I did know this because I've talked to him before. The sun does not go down until midnight in the summer.
Whoa.
Okay. Now here in Minnesota, southern Minnesota, we're enjoying right now the sun not going down until about 9 o'clock. Mm-hmm. And that's also very similar in North Iowa, where I grew up. It goes down about 9 o'clock until about halfway through, or 2/3 of the way through June. Mm-hmm. And then even then, it still doesn't start to get dark for the rest of the summer until like 7:30 p.m. Mm-hmm. Now in Brazil, where I visited for a summer, it always got dark at 6 o'clock.
And Guam's like that too, between 5 and 6 o'clock.
So that's really weird to be eating supper every night when it's dark. When here, where I grew up and where we live now, you can eat supper and then there's still a couple more hours of light outside.
Yeah.
Now in Alaska, though, where they live, it doesn't get dark until midnight in the summer.
That'd be hard. You have to go to bed when it's still light outside if you're a kid.
Uh-huh. Well, some kids do here too anyway, but even adults have to go to bed when it's still light outside. It is light out most of the night during the summer. Now, on the opposite end of things, in the winter it is only light out for 6 hours at the darkest times. So can you imagine days where you only have 6 hours of light the whole day?
It's not very much daylight.
So that's what the winter is like for them. What is school like for children in your area? Well, Eric, as we mentioned, he does substitute teach in the one of the school districts there. He says that public school is very much like our schools here in the lower 48 states. Homeschooling, however, is very popular in Alaska, even among non-Christians.
It's kind of cool.
So it has become more popular here in the States, not just among Christians, but also non-Christians. But it sounds like Alaska very much the same way, perhaps even more so.
Mm-hmm.
We asked them, how can we pray for them this week? And their staff just came in to the camp on Friday night. So their summer staff just arrived on Friday night, and they begin training tomorrow, Monday. So pray that all of their tests for COVID-19 would come back negative. That would be very helpful for them so that they can have their whole staff. And pray that they have a summer that impacts lives for eternity. And I would say praises because they get to have camp. Because there are some camps this year that do not get to have camp at all. Mm-hmm. I know of a couple at least, and I'm sure there are many more that can't have camp, and they get to do it. So praise the Lord for that. I asked him, what is something that you wish people would ask about, but they never do? He said, we wish that people in our area asked how they could help out with the camp by using the talents God has given them. We often have help that we recruit, but we would love to see those around us have a desire to use their talents at camp. And growing up in Iowa, where the camp there has a lot of volunteers, I can see why that would be very helpful for them in Alaska if people just loved the camp and wanted to go and help and do things, whether that was painting or landscaping or cooking for events or whatever it might be. I don't know exactly what all the needs are for them at their camp, but they do wish too that they just had more people that would have that same passion and desire to see the camp grow and disciple people.
It takes a lot of people to make something like camp happen. And it takes a lot of people to make church happen. So if you have some type of talent or ability, just like they need people to help in their camp, there's probably some way you could help out at your church or at a camp or something nearby in a way that it's probably somewhere they need help. If you ask, most of the time ministries do need help with stuff. Yep.
It's not just the Red Cross and these other different organizations that ask for help during natural disasters or whatever. There are places that need help every day, like churches and camps. Mm-hmm. I said, is there anything else interesting that you think people would like to know about? And he said, tourism is very seasonal, so it is quiet and slow here in the winters, but bustling and fast-paced in the summer.
So they're just getting ready for that time. Then.
Yeah. Yep, they're just getting into their tourism season. Many of the year-round residents on the Kenai Peninsula work on the oil field of the North Slope, even though it is nearly 1,000 miles north of there.
That's a long drive.
Wow.
I'm sure
I can't even imagine. I bet they don't just go there and then come home in the evening.
No.
Mom, here's the answer. They take a jet from Anchorage to their job site. Their work schedules are oftentimes 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off.
That's a better plan.
Yeah.
But, that'd be...
I don't know if I could do
quite
that.
The work system. Kind of interesting to learn about somewhere else.
1,000 miles north of here is not even the same state. It's not even the same country. We're in Canada now if you go 1,000 miles north of here. So wow, that's a long way.
Yeah.
So that is Eric and Ellen Locker in Alaska. And like I said earlier, it is still part of the United States, but this is a completely different part of the world. Nothing like anything that we experience down here. As far as daylight goes, climate, even the people are a lot different. So we are very thankful that they agreed so last minute to let us include them this week. And we are thankful that you decided to come and watch and listen. And we do hope that you'll pray for the Lockers. And maybe you know them. I know that there are several people around who do know them. And so keep praying for them as they get ready to start their camping season. And pray that coronavirus will not be a big hindrance to them, but perhaps even a help, something that will encourage people to go and find out who God is and the plan He has for their lives, even during difficult times like this. I hope you found the thing in our setup here that is new this week. We've completely forgot to mention it earlier, but I think this one might be a little easier. And so if you see it, shout it out, write it down in the comments below. Aside from that, thank you for joining us again. If you have any ideas, thoughts, anything you learned, write those down below. And as always, keep sharing with other people so that we can continue to expand the number of people watching and the impact that hopefully we can have as we share about God's love, the beautiful world that He created, and how He is using other people to further the gospel in this world. So we look forward to joining you next week, talking about something new that we visited, and sharing some experiences that we would like you to enjoy someday too. We'll see you later.
Bye.
Bye.